No one noticed a human when he entered the Hall of Dominion. That in itself was not unusual. Humans were common across the outer systems. Clerks, technicians, translators, cargo handlers. Useful, replaceable, invisible. This one wore no insignia, no military crest, no noble mark. His clothes were plain, dark, functional. He walked with his hands behind his back. Posture straight but unassuming, eyes lowered in practiced respect. To the alien queen of Erexia, he was less than insignificant. He was background noise. The Hall of Dominion stretched like the inside of a living cathedral. Towering obsidian pillars etched with glowing runes, bioluminescent banners floating in the air, and a floor of polished black crystal that reflected every figure like a distorted mirror. Thousands of representatives from conquered systems stood in ordered silence, waiting for the queen to arrive. And when she did, the universe seemed to inhale. Queen Zalthara descended upon her levitating throne, surrounded by a slow orbit of golden energy rings, symbols of absolute authority. Her armor was ceremonial yet lethal, shaped to her tall, elegant form, metallic plates interwoven with living crystal. Her eyes, cold, luminous silver, swept across the hall with detached judgment. Empires had fallen beneath that gaze. She took her seat. "Kneel," commanded the High Herald. The entire hall obeyed, all except the queen herself and the human, who was a fraction of a second slower than the rest. Zalthara noticed. Her brow tightened almost imperceptibly, a delay that small would go unnoticed by anyone else, but not by a ruler who had executed generals for less. Her eyes fixed on him. A human male, early 30s by Terran standards. No visible weapons. No enhancements detected. His biological scan, already projected in her peripheral vision, marked him as utterly average. Unremarkable muscle density. Standard neural activity. No combat-grade implants. Nothing. He knelt fully now, head lowered, hands resting calmly on his knees. The queen's interest faded as quickly as it had sparked. Another insignificant creature who forgot his place for a heartbeat, she thought. She turned her attention to the proceedings. "Begin the tribute registry," she ordered. One by one, planetary delegates were announced, resources cataloged, populations assessed, military assets seized or spared. Names were read aloud, some rewarded, others condemned. The human remained silent among the kneeling masses until his turn came. "Designation?" the registrar asked sharply. The human raised his head just enough to speak. His voice was calm, clear, respectful. "Elias Ward," he said, "Terran citizen." A pause, not from the queen, from the registrar. His fingers hesitated over the holographic console. His pupils dilated as he read something only he could see. Zalthara noticed that. "Proceed," she said coldly. The registrar swallowed. "Your occupation?" he asked. "I'm a systems analyst," Elias replied. "Civilian." A lie, a small one but deliberate. The queen almost smiled. She had heard every kind of lie imaginable across centuries of conquest. Fearful lies, desperate lies, arrogant lies. This one was different. It was restrained, controlled, designed not to elevate, but to disappear. Interesting, she thought, though she dismissed the feeling just as quickly. "Clear him," she said. Next. The registrar didn't move. Silence spread across the hall, like a crack in glass. I said, the queen repeated, her voice sharpening. "Clear him." The registrar's hand trembled. "My queen," he said slowly, carefully. "His name appears on a restricted registry." That earned her full attention. She leaned forward slightly on her throne. "Restricted how?" she asked. "There are many registries," the registrar replied. "Watch lists, criminal archives, genetic anomaly logs, military threat assessments." He hesitated. "This one is not cataloged under any of them." Zalthara's eyes narrowed. "Then which registry?" The registrar's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "The forbidden list." The hall erupted into murmurs before the herald slammed his staff against the floor. Silence. Zalthara did not react immediately. She did not need to. The words echoed inside her mind. The Forbidden List was not myth, but few had ever seen it. It was older than her reign, older than the current Galactic Compact. A sealed archive maintained by the architect themselves. Names placed there not for crimes committed, but for potential deemed catastrophic. Most entries were extinct species, dead civilizations, rogue AIs that had nearly ended reality itself. No living individual had been added in over 500 cycles, especially not a human. Projected, the Queen said quietly. The registrar hesitated only a second before obeying. A single holographic panel appeared in the air between them, locked behind layers of quantum encryption that unraveled one by one at the Queen's authority. The hall watched. The Queen read, and for the first time in centuries, her breath caught. Forbidden List, active entry. Name, Ward Elias. Species, human Terran. Threat vector, nonlinear. Directive, do not engage. Do not terminate. Do not provoke. Status, observe only. The Queen stared at the directive. Do not terminate. That alone was unprecedented. Her eyes lifted slowly from the hologram to the kneeling human. He met her gaze at last, not with fear, not with defiance, but with something far more unsettling, understanding, as if he had always known this moment would come. The hall was frozen in terror. Zalthara felt a chill run down her spine, an alien sensation she had not experienced since her ascension to the throne. This must be an error, she said. The system chimed softly. Error. Entry verified by architect consensus. She clenched her jaw. Human, she said, her voice echoing to the Hall of Dominion. Stand. Elias Ward stood, slowly, calmly, thousands of eyes locked onto him. To the alien Queen, he had been nobody. Now, he was something the universe itself had marked as untouchable, and she needed to know why. The Hall of Dominion had never been this silent, not during executions, not during declarations of war, not even when entire species were erased with a single command. Yet now, thousands stood frozen, breath held, eyes locked on one human who had just risen to his feet. Elias Ward stood alone at the center of the obsidian floor, unbound, unarmed, untouched. Queen Zalthara remained seated on a throne, but the air around her shifted. The golden energy rings orbiting her slowed almost imperceptibly, responding to her internal state. Her fingers tightened against the armrest, metal creaking softly beneath her grip. Do not engage. Do not terminate. Do not provoke. The words burned in her mind. Those directives were not suggestions. They were absolute laws issued by the architects themselves. Entities so ancient that even her people's oldest legends described them as forces rather than beings. And they had marked a human as untouchable. Clear the hall, she commanded suddenly. The High Herald turned, startled. My queen. Now. Her voice cracked like a blade through stone. The herald struck his staff once. All delegates will withdraw. This audience is concluded. Protests died before they were born. No one questioned the Queen when her tone carried that edge. One by one, the representatives backed away, eyes never leaving the human. Whispers rippled like static through the chamber as massive doors sealed shut. Within moments, the Hall of Dominion was empty, except for three. Queen Zalthara, her High Herald, and Elias Ward. Leave us, she said to the herald. He hesitated, then bowed deeply and exited without another word. Silence returned, heavier than before. Zalthara rose from her throne. She descended the final step slowly, deliberately, each movement radiating control. Her presence alone bent the air, gravity subtly shifting around her. This was the being who ruled Virexia with absolute authority. Conqueror of systems, breaker of fleets. She stopped a few paces from Elias. Up close, he seemed smaller, not physically, though he was shorter than her, but existentially. There was no aura of power, no psychic pressure, no telltale sign of enhanced cognition. His heartbeat was steady, his breathing calm. His eyes, a muted gray, met hers without flinching. You knew, she said. It was not a question. Elias tilted his head slightly. Knew what, your majesty? The list, she replied. You knew your name was on it. A pause. Not long, but deliberate. I suspected, he said carefully. Confirmation is inconvenient. Inconvenient? Her lips curled faintly. That registry terrifies empires. And you call it inconvenient. I prefer understatement, he replied. That earned him a sharper look. You're either very brave, she said, circling him slowly, or catastrophically foolish. Those are not mutually exclusive, Elias said. She stopped behind him. For a heartbeat, the instinct to strike, to end the anomaly, rose within her. Every ruler's reflex screamed that this thing, whatever it was, should be eliminated now. Yet the architect's directive echoed louder. Do not provoke. You lied about your occupation, she said. Yes. Why? Because the truth would have caused this conversation much sooner. Her eyes narrowed. And what is the truth? He exhaled slowly. I prevent endings, he said. The words hung in the air, vague and absurd. Zalthara laughed once. Short, sharp, humorless. You expect me to accept that? No, Elias replied. I expect you to verify it. She activated her internal link, querying every known intelligence archive simultaneously. Her processors screamed under the load. Records surfaced, fragmented, sealed, corrupted. Events that should not have resolved peacefully. Wars that ended without explanation. Extinction-level scenarios aborted at the final moment. And always there was a missing variable, a name redacted, a human presence logged and erased, a probability curve that bent impossibly back toward survival. Her laughter died. You interfere with causality, she said quietly. I negotiate with it, Elias corrected. That answer chilled her more than any threat. You're not enhanced, she said. No implants. No genetic manipulation. No psychic markers. Correct. Then how? He met her gaze again. Because humans were never meant to be powerful, he said. We were meant to be corrective. Her eyes flickered. You're lying. If I were, he said, the architects wouldn't have bothered writing rules about me. That was undeniable. She turned away, pacing now. The forbidden list exists to isolate existential threats, she said. Rogue gods. Reality-breaking intelligences. Species capable of unraveling space-time. She faced him again. You are none of those. Elias hesitated. That depends, he said slowly, on how you define individual. The temperature in the hall dropped. What are you? She demanded. An interface, he replied. A pressure valve. When civilizations reach certain thresholds, unchecked expansion, runaway aggression, irreversible collapse, someone like me gets nudged into place. Nudged by whom? The architects, he said, or whatever they were before they stopped answering questions. Her pulse quickened. You work for them. No, Elias said softly. I correct their mistakes. That sentence landed like a seismic charge. The Queen of Erexia, conqueror of galaxies, felt something dangerously close to fear. If that's true, she said, voice low, then why are you here? On my world. In my hall. Elias looked around the empty chamber, the throne, the banners, the symbols of absolute dominion. Because your empire, he said, is approaching a statistical inevitability. Her jaw tightened. Speak plainly. In 3 expansion cycles, he said, Virexia triggers a chain reaction that ends with 47 inhabited systems sterilized. Not by you, but because of you. She recoiled slightly. That's impossible. It's already happening, he replied. You just can't see it yet. Her voice sharpened. Then why haven't you stopped it? Because, Elias said, I'm not allowed to intervene unless the ruler asks the right question. Silence. Zalthara stared at him. This human who spoke of galactic death as calmly as weather. And what question is that? She asked. He held her gaze. Do you want to rule, or do you want your empire to survive? The golden rings around her flared violently. For the first time since her ascension, Queen Zalthara did not know the answer. Queen Zalthara did not sit. She stood motionless in the center of the Hall of Dominion, the glow of ancient sigils reflecting off her armor like distant stars caught in frozen time. The throne behind her, symbol of absolute rule, felt suddenly irrelevant. "Show me," she said. The words tasted like surrender. Elias Ward inclined his head slightly, not in triumph, not in mockery, simply acknowledgement. "As you wish, Your Majesty." He raised one hand, not dramatically, not as a command, just enough. The air between them fractured, not shattered, peeled, like layers of reality being gently separated. A translucent construct unfolded in the vast chamber, forming a three-dimensional projection so detailed it felt less like an image and more like a memory being forced into existence. Stars ignited. Dozens of systems bloomed into view. Virexian-controlled space, marked by imperial sigils. Trade routes pulsed like arteries. Fleet formations drifted in precise, lethal symmetry. "This," Elias said, "is your empire, present state." Zalthara recognized every configuration, every doctrine, every strategic posture. Flawless. Then the projection shifted. Time accelerated. Borders expanded. Fleets multiplied. Conquered worlds fell into neat, obedient order. Resistance collapsed before it could properly form. Her chest swelled, until Elias spoke again. "This," he said quietly, "is where it breaks." A single system flashed, an unremarkable border region, sparse population, minimal strategic value. System K-417, Zalthara said instantly, "We annex it within 2 cycles." "Yes," Elias replied, "and you execute its planetary council." They resisted. They warned you. The projection zoomed in. A small, red pulse ignited at the system's core. "Your forces miss a substellar anomaly," Elias continued. "A relic buried inside their sun. Pre-architect. Dormant for eons." The red pulse expanded. When your fleet destabilizes a star during occupation, the relic activates. The star collapsed inward, then exploded outward, not as supernova, but as something far worse. Space folded. Causality tore. A wave rippled across nearby systems. Worlds vanished. Not destroyed. Erased. Zalthara felt her breath hitch. "That alone kills 14 billion, Elias said. "But that's not the end." The projection continued. Refugee movements destabilized trade networks. Allied species blamed Virexia. Retaliatory strikes ignited old rivalries. Defensive pacts activated. Secret weapons emerged from hiding. Within months, the galaxy fractured. 47 systems sterilized, Elias said. 7 major powers collapse. 2 minor gods wake up angry. Her claws flexed unconsciously. "And my empire?" she asked. The projection showed Virexia's core worlds, still standing, surrounded by emptiness. "You survive," Elias said. "Briefly." Her eyes snapped to him. "Briefly? Until the famine," he said. "Until the uprisings. Until your own generals decide the queen who killed half the galaxy is no longer fit to rule." The image shifted again. She saw herself, older, scarred, standing alone in a ruined throne room as flames devoured the banners of her house. Then darkness. The projection collapsed. Silence roared back into the hall. "That future," Zalthara said slowly, "assumes no interference." "Yes." "And you interfere," she said. "Only when asked," Elias replied. She turned to him, fury and fear worn behind her eyes. "You said this empire should have died." "Yes." "Why?" He hesitated for the first time. "Because Virexia is too efficient," he said. "Too clean. Too final." Her jaw tightened. "You punish us for being strong?" "No," Elias said, "for being inevitable." He walked slowly toward the projection's fading residue, tracing an invisible line in the air. "Empires that allow randomness survive," he said. "Mistakes, mercy, inefficiency. You remove those. You compress probability until it snaps." She folded her arms. "And you decide who lives and dies?" "No," he said. "I decide when a universe deserves a second attempt." She studied him. This human who spoke of existence like a flawed equation. What happens if I refuse? She asked. Nothing, Elias said. That startled her. Nothing, she repeated. I leave, he said. The future proceeds. The architects log the outcome. The universe learns. Learns what? That absolute control, he said softly, is indistinguishable from extinction. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And if I agree? Elias met her gaze. Then Virexia becomes an anomaly, he said. An empire that should have collapsed, but didn't. She turned back toward the throne. The symbols of power no longer comforted her. What would you change? She asked. Elias paused. Your mercy, he said. Your borders. And one execution. Her head snapped back. Which execution? K-417's Planetary Council, he said. They must live. They defied me, she said coldly. They save you, he replied. Silence stretched. Is that all? She asked. No, Elias said. There's one more condition. Her eyes narrowed. Name it. He exhaled slowly. You must put your name, he said, on the forbidden list. The words echoed like a death sentence. That list is for threats, she said. Exactly, Elias replied. And the moment you choose mercy over inevitability, you become one. The Queen of Virexia stared at the human, at the future that should not exist, at the empire that could survive if she sacrificed absolute control. Outside the sealed hall of dominion, the galaxy waited, unaware that history was about to diverge. Queen Zaltharos stood before the throne she had claimed through fire, blood, and flawless conquest. For the first time since her ascension, she did not sit upon it. The hall of dominion felt smaller now, less like a symbol of eternity and more like a moment frozen between two futures. The banners of Virexia stirred softly in artificial air currents, their sigils glowing with ancient pride. Put my name on the forbidden list, she said. The words carried no hesitation. Elias Ward studied her carefully, not as a subject studies a ruler, but as a witness watches a decision ripple outward through reality. You understand what that means, he said. I understand what it costs, Zalthara replied, and what it saves. He nodded once. Then history will fracture here. He activated the interface. No grand display appeared. No dramatic energy surge. Just a single, austere holographic panel. Older than language, colder than judgment. Forbidden list, amendment pending. A cursor blinked. Elias did not touch it. This must be your choice alone, he said. I can't authorize it. Zaltharos stepped forward. She extended one clawed finger and pressed it against the field. The system accepted her biological signature instantly. Then it paused. For the first time in recorded existence, the forbidden list asked a question. Reason for inclusion? Zaltharos straightened. So that my empire may live, she said, voice steady, without becoming a graveyard. The cursor vanished. The list updated. Forbidden list, active entry. Name, Exalthera, Queen of Virexia. Classification, Paradox Sovereign. Threat vector, voluntary mercy. Directive, observe. Do not intervene. Status, unresolved. The hall seemed to exhale. Somewhere, far beyond stars and dimensions, something ancient noticed and adjusted. Elias released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. It's done, he said. What happens now? Zalthara asked. Now, he replied. You rule differently. Time moved forward. The execution order for System K-417 was revoked. The Planetary Council lived. Their scientists were allowed to finish their warning, revealing the relic buried in the system star. Virexian engineers stabilized it. The anomaly was contained, then sealed forever. The catastrophe never happened. But that was only the beginning. Borders slowed. Conquest paused. In places where annihilation would have been efficient, Zalthara chose negotiation instead. Not mercy born of weakness, but restraint born of foresight. Her generals resisted. Some rebelled. She let them go. Others learned. Trade routes replaced war corridors. Former enemies became cautious partners. Virexia lost territory in some regions, and gained influence in others far more valuable. The galaxy watched, confused, uneasy. Then the impossible occurred. Virexia endured, not as the sharpest blade, but as the strongest anchor. Centuries passed. Legends formed. Stories spread of a queen who had once ruled by inevitability, then chose uncertainty. Of an empire that should have collapsed, but didn't. And of a human who appeared at moments of quiet apocalypse, asked one question, and vanished. Zalthara stood once more in the Hall of Dominion. Older now, lines of time etched into her once flawless features. "Are you still watching?" she asked the empty chamber. "Always," came Elias's voice from behind her. She turned. He looked the same. "Is my name still there?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "It always will be." "Then I suppose," she said, allowed herself a rare smile, "I chose correctly." Elias returned the smile, small, almost human. "You chose to be dangerous in the right way," he said. "The universe needs more of that." She studied him. "And you?" she asked. "What happens to you now?" He glanced toward the stars beyond the hall's ceiling. "Another empire," he said. "Another inevitability." She inclined her head, not as a ruler to a subject, but as one anomaly acknowledging another. "Go," she said. "And if the galaxy ever forgets this lesson—" Elias turned, already fading from perception. "I'll remind it." His voice echoed. Quietly. The Hall of Dominion was empty once more. But the galaxy was not the same, because one queen chose mercy over certainty, and one human proved that sometimes the most dangerous name in the universe is the one written voluntarily.